Welcome back, everyone. Sometimes the scariest monsters aren't hiding under your bed or in your closet. They're living right next to you, in the walls around you. In 1986, a teenage girl named Annie Andrews began hearing whispers, not from outside her window, not from a phone, but from inside her walls. She thought she was losing her mind, but what Annie didn't know was that someone, a living, breathing person, had made her house his home. This is the horrifying true story of the voice in the wall. Annie Andrews lived with her father and sister in a quiet neighborhood in Massachusetts. They were still grieving the loss of their mother when strange things began to happen. It started with soft whispers in the night, the voice calling her name. Annie, Annie, it's me. The voice sounded gentle, familiar, even. She thought it was her mother reaching out from the afterlife. Long before moving into the house, Annie had felt a strong connection to her mother. She often felt her presence around the house. So when Annie first heard the voice, she assumed it was her mom trying to communicate with her. Annie, desperate for closure, tried to communicate with the voice. She used a Ouija board, left notes, and even lit candles at night. But the more she opened herself up to it, the stronger the presence became. Furniture began to move. Doors creaked open on their own. Objects vanished and reappeared in odd places. And then the writing started. Messages in red ink scrawled across the walls. I'm watching you. Come find me. Mom misses you. Annie was terrified. One evening, Annie returned home alone. As she walked into the living room, she froze. A figure stood across the room, dressed in her dead mother's clothes, face painted like a corpse, holding a butcher's knife. Annie screamed and ran to call the police. The figure didn't chase her. It just stood still. When the police arrived, they searched the house. Nothing. But then they noticed something odd in Annie's closet. A small door, barely visible behind her clothes. They opened it and crawled inside. Behind the wall was a narrow tunnel. And at the end of that tunnel, they found Daniel LaPlante. Daniel LaPlante was a local teenage boy who had once gone on a date with Annie. But what no one knew was that he never left. He had broken into the house weeks earlier and had been secretly living inside the walls, watching Annie and her family. He'd carved holes to spy on them. He'd learned their habits, their fears, and he exploited them. The voice she heard wasn't a ghost. It was him. Daniel was obsessed with Annie and wanted to be with her always. He chose the creepiest way possible to let her know. But that wasn't the end of the story. Just 1 year later, Daniel committed a triple homicide, brutally murdering a pregnant woman and her 2 children. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Today, Annie still lives in that house. She changed her name and tries to live as normal a life as possible. But no one can blame her for being terrified of the dark. After what she endured, how could anyone ever feel safe in their own home again? Now, it's time to make your voice heard. Leave a comment below. What would you do if you heard a voice coming from inside your wall? If you found this story chilling, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more terrifying true stories. And if you're still watching, we know you're brave. So here's another scary story to watch next.